Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast this week. I'm so glad that you're here, and I just want to say always thank you. So thankful for you to be listening, because honestly, if it weren't for you, then this wouldn't even be a podcast or considered a pod. It'd just be me talking to myself. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Just a quick message about what's going on, and honestly, not a whole lot, not a lot of events happening per se. But as always, I have a few freebies in my show notes, so please go grab those. There's a new one that I'm really excited about, which basically gives you the blueprint that I explain in the Honor You Lab, which is how to honor yourself, how to get into full alignment with yourself. And it also gives a little bit about my background and my story on how I started doing this work, how I came to this work, what happened to me, and what my symptoms were, which may help you understand your symptoms if you are symptomatic of, this experience of not being in alignment with yourself. So I would love for you to go grab that. Let me know what you think as always, but it'll come in an email form, three-part series in PDF. So day 1, day 2, day 3. So you get 3 full days. And also there's an opportunity to jump in on the wait list for my next lab, which should be coming out or enrolling in about 6 to 8 weeks or so. So don't want to miss that. I'd love to have you in the lab as always. So go grab your link to the wait list if that's something you want to do. But I would love it if you did, and I'd love to have you in the lab. The students in the lab, this cohort, I think are really enjoying it. We're getting a lot of great feedback on it, and just talking about, this idea of how to listen to your soul and what do you want, and, even how to go through that process of recognizing when you're out of alignment and recognizing when something's not right. And for me, that was a lot about having a lot of anxiety, panic attacks. I almost didn't even have a choice, right? Like I couldn't keep doing what I was doing because it clearly was not working. So sometimes we let things float around in our life, and we don't address them until we absolutely have to. And I always just wish for people to address them before it gets to that point of a breakdown. But if a breakdown's imminent, then, I guess that might just be the plan for you to get in alignment. So anyway, point is, go in there, grab the freebie if you'd like it, or grab yourself a waitlist slot. And then you'll be the first to know when I launch the lab again and start enrolling students again. And also, usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, I will definitely include some, be the first to know kind of discounts and things like that. So you'll definitely want to be on the list, if you will. So, all right, let's jump into this week's episode topic, which is, how do you know if it's an ego/mind, which if you don't listen to my podcast, you wouldn't know that I interchange ego and mind a lot. So that's kind of a typical practice of anybody who sort of talks about this kind of stuff. So how do you know if it's an ego and or mind desire in your life versus a soul desire? And I want to talk about this because I think it sometimes really can be tough to know, is this coming from my mind completely? Do I want to do this thing just because I think I should? Or do I want to do this thing just because I'm trying to impress other people? Or do I want to do this thing so that I'm well loved or well liked, or people accept me, or I feel like I belong now? Or do I want to do these things because it truly is my soul's desire? And I hear a lot of people, especially in the lab and when I coach people one-on-one, and I even experience this now too. Like I'm not immune to this. Like sometimes I'm like, is this something coming from my heart? Or do I just want to do this because people are praising me for it, or I'm getting accolades around it? So, ooh, let me do more of that. I'm really excited. So we do experience this life, and we do experience this in life, and we do experience this a lot in life. This is something where, especially if you've not grown up learning how to honor yourself, or not grown up being taught how to listen to your soul's desires, or not grown up being even encouraged to do what really lights you up, or pay attention to your emotions, like all of these things can be reasons or ways in which we sort of get sucked into what the mind wants for us versus what the soul wants for us. And this is where you see a lot of experiences where we stay in marriages we don't want to be in, or we stay in careers we don't love, or, we stay in cities we don't want to live in anymore, or we stay in friendships that we feel like we should because they've been our friend our whole life, but really it's not vibing anymore. The list goes on with these experiences in life where we should. And that is very much mind driven. And sometimes we do that very unconsciously. We're not even conscious that we're doing it until it kind of comes to a situation where it feels so awful that we're like, okay, this clearly is not working for me. But a lot of times it's sort of this undercurrent, this like very low grade pain or low grade irritation that we have, and we kind of know, but sometimes we pretend we don't, and it's like, so we put it off. But anyway, you get my point, that we often find ourselves in situations that are very driven by the mind, and sometimes we just don't even really realize that's what we're doing until it gets so bad that we have to change something. But I'm talking kind of probably more in a realm of, well, actually, it could be big decisions too. It could be anything. It could be small, it could be big. But if you have this undercurrent of feeling like something's off and you want to go change it, how do you know if that change desire is coming from a place of your mind or your ego versus true to gosh, your soul's desires? And my short answer to that is you actually will never know. Like, you're never gonna know, like, so 100% certainty that this thing that I desire is truly coming from my soul. Like, I don't know as if there's ever this like 100% guarantee that, yep, this is coming from my soul and not my mind. I think the more you connect with yourself, the more you build a relationship with yourself, the more you understand yourself, this becomes more of like a confidence thing that you build over time, and that it becomes more and more natural to you to follow your soul's desires versus your mind's desires. But the short answer to that question is, to the question of how do you know if it's an ego mind desire versus a soul desire, the short answer is you never really know for 100% certainty fact. And so I want to just start by saying that, and then I'm going to get into a little bit more details around it. But before we dive in, I want to just make sure I say also that this question is also, this question often comes up when you're experiencing this question mark of, should I or should I not? Should I do this or should I not listen to this? Should I listen to this ache and pain I'm having with my marriage, or should I just pretend like it's fine and we're going to brush it under the rug and this is just what marriage is? Or should I take action and do something about this? Should I start looking for a different career, or just suck it up because I've been in this one for 15 years now anyway, so what's another 15 years, right? Should I decide to have children even though I'm over the age of 35 and I never really thought I had kids, but now I kind of feel like I want kids? Should I do that? Or is this like, am I just getting older and I'm starting to worry that like maybe I should have had kids and now I'm not really sure, but I kind of want to? So this question about how do you know if it's an ego mind desire versus a soul desire is kind of AKA, should you move forward, take action, etc., or not? And before we really dive into this, I want to state again, because I often do, and I want to like start really pounding this into people's brains. There's nothing more like just exhilarating to hear people be like, well, I remember when you said this is definition of this. And I'm like, yes, woohoo, it's sticking. So I say it a lot, but I always define your purpose as fulfilling your soul's desires. Okay, so your purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires. And then the question becomes, well, okay, fine. Is this my heart and soul's desire? Or going back to the original conversation or question, is it coming from my mind, right? That's another reason why I wanted to talk about this, because I always say purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires throughout your lifetime. And it's not just one thing, because obviously your soul desires more than just one thing in life. But I say this a lot because I want to make sure that we really understand that concept. And then the next step becomes, okay, but how do I know if it's my soul's desires? And we're going to get into that in a second. The other thing I wanted to define is, what does it mean to honor yourself? Because ultimately what we're talking about here is finding a way back to yourself, and you start honoring yourself so that the life that you have is one that you can look at and be like, this is my life. I love this life. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm experiencing what I want to experience. I'm in the relationship I want to be in. I have friendships I really enjoy. I have the career that I can say is really good or great. So honoring yourself is the ultimate antidote to this question mark we're having, right? Is it coming from my mind or is it coming from my soul? And the antidote to that is really truly embodying and understanding what it means to honor yourself. And what it means to honor yourself is recognizing, respecting, and responding to your mental, physical, spiritual needs despite outside influence or external expectations, right? So you are finding a way in your life to honor, aka pay attention. And I like to use the word, I use the 3 R's on purpose, but I really like the word respect, because a lot of times we totally disrespect ourselves. We, if we have a certain emotion or a certain experience, we try to shut it down because it's hard to experience that. So I always use that word respect in the middle, because I really think it's important for people to understand that you have to respect the emotions and the experiences you're having and your soul is experiencing, versus just shutting them down or numbing them out or trying to get rid of them, or they're uncomfortable or they're inconvenient, so you don't want to deal with them. So I really like the definition of honoring you being recognizing, respecting, and responding to your emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental needs despite external expectations or external expectations or external influences. And I put that part in there because it has to really come from within, because way too often in life, like nearly our entire life, and again, I'm not immune to this, I do this too, we all have a tendency to want to reach to the outside world for certain things in our life, whether that's belonging or whether that's affirmations or whether that's love or whether that's we need to heal from something, right? We like really reach to the outside world. Or if we're trying to just like not feel something, right? We really reach the external world for that through entertainment, through doom scrolling, through TV watching, through getting drunk or high, through gaming, right? Like we have all these things at our fingertips that will allow us to numb out and then not necessarily feel any of these things. So I really put that end to it, the external expectations and the externalness of all of this, because it's really important to understand that the idea for honoring yourself is to go internal, not external. And we all too often reach externally. And that's just, it just is what it is, right? That's what we do as our little human brains decide that's what the answer is. So I wanted to make sure I talked a little bit about those definitions, because it'll matter as we think about how do you know if it's an ego mind desire versus a soul desire. And so let's now get into this conversation about what can you do to align as best you can. Like, how do you do the best parenting job you can, right? Like, so I want to say it that way because I want to make sure people understand, like, this isn't about perfection. This isn't about, did I get it right or did I get it wrong? It's not about that. It is about having a connection with yourself, seeing what it is you need, recognizing, respecting, and responding to your emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual needs, honoring yourself, right? Honoring yourself so that you can really align the best you can. And we do this at our higher self. Like, basically, we have to be the parent in the room. We have to be the adult in the room to our mind, our body, and our soul to really address and see what everybody's got going on and make decisions from that place as whether or not we move forward or not, versus staying stuck or staying small or playing small or suffering through it or numbing it out or whatever, right? So we have to come from all of this at this higher level. And maybe you're not a parent, and maybe you are. So let's just go with the parent analogy. So if you're a parent and your kid comes to you with a problem, do you ever really know if the solution that you offer to that child is actually the perfect solution? No, right? Like, you're just doing the best you can. Or let's just say you're a manager. Let's take the manager analogy. And your employee comes to you with a problem and you solve the problem, or you help solve the problem. Do you ever have this like overwhelming feeling that 100% your solution to the problem is the solution? No doubt about it. It's the perfect solution. There could never be a different solution. This is the perfect one. Now, obviously, in both scenarios, you build confidence. Like, maybe with the first child, you're a little more nervous than when you have the second child. And as a manager, you're probably more confident to make the same decision about a similar problem that will often come your way because you're in the same industry, etc. So you have more confidence the second time. That's the point. Also, though, the point is that how are you ever supposed to know 100% without a shadow of a doubt that you are making the perfect decision and solving the problem perfectly? It's not even supposed to be that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we were created in such a way that all our decisions were perfect all the time, we wouldn't learn anything. Like, we wouldn't learn anything. Like, part of making decisions in our life and then them being like not the perfect solution perhaps, or maybe that decision created a different problem over here or made someone upset over there. Like, there's things that we will make decisions on, whether it's with our kids or at work or in our marriages or for our own personal health or whatever, that aren't going to be perfect, right? They're not ever going to be perfect. That's not the point. The point is that you put one foot in front of the other and you make the decision. So there's that. But I want to try to help you get closer and closer to this point where you feel more and more and more aligned with yourself and your decisions, in hopes that this gives you a platform for feeling like you're really leaning in to who you came here to be, that you're really leaning into fulfilling your soul's desires, that you're really leaning into your purpose, right? Because if your purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires, then we want to practice this experience of hearing what our soul wants, which, by the way, is through emotions. Hearing what our soul wants, attending to those wants and desires, going through the process of executing on those wants and desires or needs, whatever they are, because maybe the need is just simply consoling, and then being able to do that over and over and over and over again with as little to no judgment as possible on our own selves, like, because we are just doing the best we can, and then letting go of any sort of outcome in the situation, and then coming back to the table and doing it again. Letting go of the outcome, coming back to the table, doing it again, okay? So just keep in mind that there is no perfect answer to this. However, there probably is some outlines or some things that I can give you that'll help you feel like you're as aligned with yourself as you possibly can be when you make a decision, or when you start mobilizing towards something different in your life, when you know whatever it is that you're currently experiencing is not something that you really want to experience, that you know you've got to make a change, or you've got to attend to an emotion, or attend to a trauma, or attend to something internally that is not sitting well with you, right? So I want to just start by saying one of the best things that you can do is slow down a little bit and understand that sometimes when you feel something, especially as it comes to the motion or the feeling of more of like a desire, so we're talking, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if I could travel, or wouldn't it be cool if I could find this really great person to date, or wouldn't it be cool if I could get that promotion, or wouldn't it be cool if I could do this other job in this different industry? So when we start listening to ourselves, and we start communicating with ourselves, and we start having connection with ourselves, and we start honoring ourselves, we are slowly but surely building a relationship with ourselves that we probably never had. And if we ever did, it's probably a lost art, if you will. It's probably kind of long gone, if you will. Because much of when we had a relationship with ourselves, it was probably like when we were kids, and we didn't, because kids don't really have all these things that get in the way of seeing what they want and seeing what they desire. They just want something, they desire it, and they say it, right? We as adults get to that point where we've kind of been deterred from certain things, or maybe we spoke up and then somebody shut us down and we never spoke up again. Or, a whole laundry list of reasons why we get disconnected from ourselves and how we get disconnected from our true desires and our soul. So if you're kind of at this place where you're like, you know what, I do feel lost, I feel stuck, I feel like I don't know what I want. I don't know if this is coming from my mind or from my soul, especially if you've had situations in your life where you've what you would consider made a mistake in a decision and it dishonored your soul and it dishonored yourself. You might feel even more nervous that the next thing you go to do might be the wrong thing for you. And I get that. I get it. But there's also a way to reestablish that so you can continue to trust yourself and start building that relationship with yourself again. And one of the first things that I would say that I would start doing if you want to start feeling like you have more of a connection to that soul side of you versus like, I'm just making this decision to feel better about myself, this is mostly coming from my mind. And I would say meditate on a desire. And listen, if you're not a meditator, it's okay. Meditation doesn't necessarily have to be so scripted. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go and like sit and close your eyes and meditate. By meditate, I mean you can bring forward an idea or a concept and present it to yourself, right? Like, you're kind of being like, it's no different than if you wanted to see if you wanted an apple, and this is kind of like an extreme probably example because you would never do this, but let's just say you're considering like, do I want that apple on that tree? So you'd walk out to the tree, you'd pick the apple, and you would present it to yourself. This is no different than a new idea or something that you're trying to decide on for yourself. So you're meditating on like presenting it to yourself, like, hey, for me, it's Miss Meliz because that's my soul's name. Hey, Miss Meliz, would this be something that you want? Am I interpreting this correctly? And let it sort of move around a little bit and sit there and be with you and let it marinate, right? Like, this is the thing about today's world is we have this idea that decisions and such need to be made so quickly. And, if somebody offers you something, it's like, oh my God, I need to make a decision right now. No, actually, you can tell the person, hey, can I have a minute to think about this, right? Like, that's the thing about life is like we put so much pressure on ourselves to make these decisions so quickly, when in reality, we can spend time with ourselves and meditate on a possibility. And you can even do this thing where you're like, hey, little soul, little Miss Meliz, I had this idea. I had this really great idea, and I thought I felt some excitement from you, and I thought I felt some excitement in my body. So I'm taking that as kind of a sign that maybe this is something we'd want to do. And I'll give you an example. Last year, I was invited to MC an event, and I was like, oh, wow, that sounds kind of cool. And so I agreed to do it. And then I went and did it. And on the way home, I was just elated. Like, I was so excited. And so I started presenting that to myself. Like, hey, this seems like you were really excited to get on stage and be in front of people and present and be a talker, be a presenter, be a public speaker. Is that something you'd like to do more of? And then I check in with myself and I let it sort of marinate, meditate, and see what kind of reaction I get. And the beauty of doing it this way, like meditating on an idea and seeing how your soul responds and reacts and paying attention to those emotions that come up, the beauty of this is it gives your soul a safe space to come out and be real about it. And it gives the attempt at not being in a situation where your mind sort of takes over and puts in all the fears and all the roadblocks and all the things your mind's going to do when you're trying to think about doing something different. And same analogy or same example, I'll say that I was nervous when I did that. I was really nervous. And if I would have listened to the nerves, as far as decision making goes, the nerves would have said, don't ever public speak ever again. That was nerve-wracking. Don't ever do that again. But I sort of leapfrogged over that experience, and I checked in with myself, and I was so pumped that it was obvious that I really wanted to do more of that. Like, it's obvious that my soul was like, yes, please, can we do more of that? Versus this experience where I could have said, oh, I was a little nervous, must be I don't ever want to do that again. Do you see the delineation? Do you see the difference? So this is what we have to start practicing when we're thinking about fulfilling our soul's desires, because there's a lot of things that we'll try to do in life that are different than what we've always done. And a lot of times our mind will come in and be like, no, don't do that. That's nerve-wracking. That's stressful, blah, blah, blah. But that's your mind kind of taking over the experience. And so you have to practice this presentation to yourself under fairly safe conditions, and then let that marinate and meditate on it. And, picture yourself doing that thing that you're presenting to your soul. Like, picture yourself experiencing that. Let her see what it would like. And then you can start interpreting, is this for me or is this not for me? Because you'll feel the emotions of excitement. Like, you'll feel the joy if you're envisioning what it is that you're kind of trying to present to your soul. Okay, got it? The second thing you can do to align the best you can and not get too hung up on this idea, is it my mind, is it my soul, like, who's this coming from, is check in after a cycle, and aka check in after you've taken action on it. So way too many of us, me included, we don't take any action at all, because we get stuck in the certain cycle, right? Like, if things are going well and all is good, maybe we're stuck in kind of that spring, summer feeling of like, oh, things are good, things are fine. Like, why try to, rattle my cage? Why try to upset the apple cart, as they say? And so we don't allow ourselves to go through a full cycle of an experience, and we take zero action at all because we're trying to stay in this moment of feeling really good. We're trying to stay in this moment of like, everything's fine, like, don't upset the apple cart. So the mind comes in and says, no, don't take action. But we have to understand that we are made to go through full cycles, right? Spring, summer, fall, winter, take stock, go through it again. So when you do have this kind of like uptick of excitement or emotion or joy of, ooh, maybe I want to try that kind of feeling, take the action, let it go through its full process and its full cycle, take stock. Did that go well? Did that not go well? How do I feel about that now? Hey, little soul, do we still want to try doing this? And then you just kind of keep going through the cycle over and over and over and over and over and over again. Keep taking stock. And maybe you switch gears. Maybe you pivot. Maybe you do something different. I don't know. That's totally up to you and your soul. But if you never take the step and you never take the action, you get stuck in one of those phases and you never get out of it. And you can even get stuck in like a not so fun phase, like winter. Like, maybe you feel just drab. Maybe you feel like nothing is going on. Nothing is working right in your life. Maybe you feel like everything is just flat and you're not excited about anything. Like, you're probably in a winter. So sometimes people get stuck in that instead of trying to think, okay, I don't like where I'm at. What can I do that is at least one thing different than what I'm currently doing? Okay, pick that thing. Then you put it to work. So that's your planning phase. That's kind of the spring. Like, okay, we're thinking about how to do this. Think about it. Spring is for planting seeds, right? So your plan that you are making toward the thing that you want to do is spring. Okay. Then summer comes, things bloom, things work out. That's kind of like the results, right? Like, that's the results phase, if you will. And then And then that kind of like comes back down. Like, oh, if I go back to my analogy on my speaking engagement, right? Like I was on a high, like everything was awesome. And we feel good in summer. Like that was the summer part of it. And then the next day I had to kind of like let go of all those exciting feelings and just, release it and let it go. Like a lot of people think letting go only means bad feelings, but good and bad, right? Like we have to let go of the results. We have to let go of what happened. So you let go of it. And in winter, that's your time for there to be kind of low go, right? Like we're not necessarily trying to like plant seeds. We're not trying to like do all these things. We're just trying to look back at our harvest and see how it went, right? Like that was my time to then when everything let go, everything like settled, I let it go. I didn't expect to stay on that high for 5 days straight. Like that's impossible. We'd be dead if we acted like that all the time. It's just not a thing. Like we're not made for that. So you have to like let it go and then go to winter and be like, okay, like, that was really fun. I'd like to do this and that a little bit better next time. I'd like to be more prepared. I'd like to practice my speech a little bit more, so you take the stock and you take things out from the experience that you can understand how to apply to the next time versus if, let's just say it went poorly. Like, let's say I tripped up the stairs and fell flat on my face at the presentation and everybody laughed at me and then that embarrassed me. I could just kind of try to go back into summer straight away and just stay there, never experience that ever again. Or I could say, okay, I'll go through my whole process, let it go, let my falling on my face go, get to winter and be like, okay, maybe next time I don't wear heels. Maybe I'll wear flats that allow me to go upstairs a little easier. Do you see what I'm saying? So the point is like, go through the process and use your winter to check in with yourself. Use your winter to take stock, to understand how did that go? What did I love? What did I not love? What do I want to just ditch and never do again? And what do I want to take with me? And that comes from a checking in with yourself. And again, you've heard me say this a lot, your soul speaks in emotions. And so let those emotions kind of be let go into fall and winter and let them go, but also allow them to be sort of what directs your spring, right? So if you want to say, okay, like I really loved being in front of other people and doing public speaking, but I didn't love that I stuttered here, I stuttered there. Whatever. But you're not going to judge it. You're just taking stock in a very like neutral place. And then you're like, okay, next time I'll practice more. Or next time I'll go through the whole thing, top to bottom 5 times. Okay, now the next time is better, right? And so you want to check in after you take action and let yourself go through that full cycle with as little judgment as possible. And then you can also sort of observe like through your harvest, like what trees grew well, what didn't, So AKA, was I anxious? Okay, does that mean I'm anxious because I've never done it before? Am I letting my mind make my soul very scared in this moment? Or am I like, is this a tension thing that my soul is saying, no, thank you, I don't want to do that? Or does my soul just need some consoling so that she can come do that again, right? So you have to really kind of sift through those emotions and think about them as like a bucket of emotions, and you're kind of just in there like, pull that emotion out, okay? Like, what does that mean? And, so spend some time evaluating your post-experience or post-action, and you'll have to just start deciding, just like you would if you had a child. If your child comes to you and it's like, oh, I really liked the roller coaster, Mom. It was so much fun. And then you take them back to the park and they're about ready to get on the roller coaster. And then they're looking at the roller coaster like, Mom, this roller coaster is kind of scary. And then you can start reminding your child like, well, remember last time how much fun you had? Like, if you really don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But like, don't you remember like when you were on the roller coaster before, you were telling me how much fun you had? And you're trying to be like, yeah, I do remember that. Okay, like let's go get on the roller coaster. And you know what? If you do hate it this time, that's fine. We don't have to do the roller coaster again. Right? So you have to kind of decide, and you can't put the expectation on yourself that it's going to be perfect, but you have to take action, take stock, come back around, do it again, take stock again, right? And the reason I put emphasis on this letting go part, this fall kind of feeling, letting go, letting it fall away and taking stock, is because too many of us want to do something in life and we get all excited about it. We check in with our soul. Our soul says, yes, please. So we say, okay, cool, mind, like, let's execute on this. And then what happens? our minds put all this expectation on ourselves, right? Like our mind says it has to be this kind of outcome. You have to get this level of a raise. You have to get this level of a title. If you don't get that title, there's no sense in trying again. You have to make sure you go on a date with the perfect guy or the perfect gal. And if they're not the perfect guy or the perfect gal, then we've totally screwed it up and we just shouldn't date anymore, right? So you have to add this layer of not having this massive expectation on your harvest or your fall. And think about this. This is a very like good lesson from nature, because nature doesn't grow or bloom and then judge itself if there's not enough fruit or not enough leaves, or the leaves aren't big enough or pretty enough, or right? Like it doesn't do that. It just, you put the seed in the ground, you water it, it comes up and out. You take stock. Did you water it the right way? Did you give it the right nutrients? It doesn't sit around and judge itself for the outcome. It just does the outcome. And that's the idea, because a lot of people stop short of fulfilling their soul's desires because of expectations or external this or external that. They're actually doing life in such a way that is truly aligned with themselves, but they're not experiencing that feeling of alignment. They're experiencing more like stress and anxiety and this and that, not because what they're doing is wrong or that they're in the wrong place in life, but because what they're doing, they're putting so much expectation on themselves, so much expectations of their performance and their outcome. And if it didn't draw, if I launched my business and my business didn't do $1 million a year in the first year, then I suck, cut it, let it go. We don't want to do this anymore. And a lot of people are letting go of really beautiful things in life because there's not some specific outcome or expectation. So the idea is that you take stock and you say, okay, like, yeah, maybe it didn't have quite the outcome you were hoping for. Then the idea is that don't judge yourself, don't give up on it. Check in with your soul and like, hey, soul, do we want to keep doing this? Yes. Okay. Now it's my job as my mom or higher self, is my job to come in and say, okay, mind, like, didn't quite get the results we wanted there. How can we add more business development? Or how can we add some more relationship building at the company so more people know me this go around, and next time I'm up for a raise, more people are vying for me or more people are voting for me, right? So it's not about like this massive judgment that then draws in so much stress, anxiety, and angst toward what you're doing. It's more just like going for it, like go for it. And then when the outcome is what the outcome is, that doesn't dictate what you do next in the sense of giving it up or not giving it up, but it just directs you, and you take it from the higher self. And don't let your mind get involved in such a way that says, we stink, we should never try that again, that was embarrassing, we tried, we failed, no, we don't want to feel that again. No, just tend to your garden in such a way that it's not having all these crazy expectations, but it's constantly improving and constantly checking back in with your soul to say, do we still want to do this? And if the answer is yes, you just find a way to constantly improve, and don't put all these expectations and all these like outcome pressures on yourself, right? Okay, so then what else can you do to align the best you can to know whether something's coming from your mind or coming from your soul? And the last thing is just pivot as needed. This is super simple. So pivot as needed. And that kind of comes back to basically what I was just saying, right? Like, use your winter time to take stock in saying like, hey soul, like, is this still what we want to know? Wasn't quite right. Like if I take my, public speaking example. So maybe emceeing's not the perfect thing for me. I think MCs are very like charismatic and performative and welcome everybody to the show. I'm not really like that naturally. So maybe emceeing wasn't the thing that I should do from a public speaking standpoint, but maybe I'm more of a motivational speaker. Maybe I'm more of a small, workshop kind of person. So let me try these different elements and go through the whole cycle again and see what works and what doesn't. So maybe I'm pivoting out of being an MC, but I'm maybe pivoting back into, more like an inspirational speaker or something like that. Okay. So the last part of it is just go through it all, then pivot as needed. Okay, guys, I think that we've gotten to that point where you get what I'm saying, right? So how do you know if it's an ego mind thing or a desire thing? I'd love to hear you try these things on and let me know how it goes. And yeah, as always, just forward this to a friend, share with people. I always love it when you guys do that. Thank you for listening as always. And until next time, keep honoring yourself. Bye-bye.